Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Happy Friday, everybody, and happy opening day, Blue Bomber fans. Bomber kickoff tonight in Calgary, 8 p.m. on TSN's Friday Night Football. And we will head to Cowtown to preview tonight's game with our pal Ed Tait of BlueBombers.com. We're also going to get to a wild game, too, in the Stanley Cup Final. The Canes, big Manitoba party last night in Raleigh. Mark Stone tying the game up late, and then Seth Jarvis of Winnipeg, the overtime hero. His homies, the good old Canadian boys, tarps off along with the rest of the fans celebrating Carolina. And it is series on as the both teams go back to LA tied 1-1 after the thrilling OT comeback win by the Carolina Hurricanes last night. And, of course, we did have CFL kickoff league-wide last night. God, you know what? The CFL can screw up a bunch of things, but the product is so damn fun. Overtime on the first night of the season. The Montreal Alouettes come back and beat Hamilton. We will touch on that as well. A little later on, I know there's been a lot of talk about CFL fantasy this year. The guru of CFL fantasy, our pal Ben Kramer, is going to jump on the program, and we will hook up with Hacksaw in the last hour of the program as well to talk about the two big trades in the National Football League this week. So we are locked and loaded. We're going to get to the latest Chud's Power Sports Conn Smythe Power Poll as well. We'll probably do that in the first segment of the show, actually, when we're talking about the game. Just before we bring in Remis, welcome to everyone watching on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Shout out to all the podcast listeners. And, of course, our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. Our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the Tri-Hospital Lottery. Get those tickets before next Friday's early bird deadline. TriHospitalDream.com, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, St. Vital Dental Center, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, our friends at Travel Manitoba, the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Big win for the Fish last night. They're back at home this evening, 7 p.m., as they continue their homestand throughout the weekend. Assiniboia Downs, and, of course, our friends at Rolly's Transfer. And we will get to a why not question of the day for not AutoCorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, get in here. What an awesome sports night we had last night.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was flipping back and forth between the CFL opener. Nice to see Montreal with the comeback. Saw that one coming from a mile away after with the big turnover there. So nicely done by them. Davis Alexander undefeated. And yes, a Stanley Cup Final game that went from, Vegas really just dominated this whole game. This game really sucked, had nothing, to complete chaos. In the final 10 minutes, Carolina woke up, ignited by fans taking off their shirts there.
Skin to win.
Yeah, so it was an exciting finish with a bunch of Manitobans getting on the board. Brett Howden, 2 goals, triggering memories. I think Fernando Pisani's 14 in 2006 when you talk about a surprising playoff performance. Mark Stone, with the tying goal late, and then Seth Jarvis, the OT winner. And now tonight, we have the Bomber Bomber season opener at 8 p.m. in Calgary.
Yeah, listen, the Canes certainly, as I tweeted out, it's series on. We have a series now because if Vegas had held on last night and won that game and headed back to Nevada up 2-0, I'm not sure this series even gets back to Carolina. We now know that we will have a game 5, no matter what, because the series is tied at 2. But you're right, Reem. That game was at 2-0, and it just felt like the Vegas Golden Knights were absolutely putting the squeeze on the Canes. And they got that first goal, and you could tell it gave them some life. It certainly gave a lot of life in the building, some fans that were looking for something to cheer for. And then Jankowski tied the game with his goal, and all of a sudden, all bets were off. And then, of course, we had that crazy scenario in and around the net. First of all, what an incredible play by Barbashev to steal the puck, to try to score, and then on the second effort wraparound, forcing Freddie Anderson to make an absolutely brilliant stick save And then you mentioned the word chaos. It was full chaos. Now, it seemed like Anderson was on the puck. It certainly seemed like the whistle went before the puck went into the net. And even if it did, how it went in, I think, would have been debated. So I thought that was an incredibly risky challenge for John Tortorella. I said to the guys I was watching the game with, this has the chance of being, sort of like the infamous 93 Marty McSorley stick measurement against the Montreal Canadiens. And, lo and behold, the challenge was not successful. The Hurricanes went on the power play and scored almost immediately. And then it was catch-up time for Torts. The other thing that I didn't love for Torts, and obviously they ended up scoring, so, maybe he was right in the end. I really thought that they got a pretty bogus power play with 3.5 minutes left, down 1 goal, and they didn't get Carter Hart out of the net until there was about 10 seconds left in that power play. Surprised at that. But Mark Stone, the hero, the play Mitch Marner made, I know there's a lot of people that give Marner grief. He's a brilliant, brilliant hockey player. The patience that he had to wait and then thread the needle to get that puck through on the Stone goal was phenomenal, and Mark Stone is such a warrior right in there. But then, yes, after it was Howden, then it was Stone, the Manitoba Mafia from Vegas making it happen. It was the much maligned Seth Jarvis, who had struggled so far in the playoffs, and certainly in this series, the OT winner last night. And just a little bit more Winnipeg and Manitoba content. Immediate shot on the good old Canadian boys losing it with the rest of the crowd dressed in red or with their shirts off in rally last night.
Yeah, an incredible sequence of events, and they showed on the Jumbotron, I was just from listening to reports, like 11 minutes left. They had some promo telling everyone to go tarps off. People are taking their shirts off. You could hear how loud it was in the crowd, and what a play by Logan Stankoven to get the puck from Rasmus Anderson, individual effort on a goal. Willie Carrier staying onside so Jankowski can go in. And then on that Barbashev goal, I thought there was no way it was getting overturned because it was called no goal on the ice. And I was actually surprised they were able to challenge for goalie interference, and there was no mention of intent to blow or them blowing the whistle. Like, the ref is in position behind the net, and you do hear the whistle go after the puck is in the net, but they can't say, hey, intent to blow. The play was already dead when it was covered. And you see it covered. You see Barbashev's stick flexing, so Anderson's glove can't fully cover it. I'm kind of surprised that there's so much debate out there on this. I agreed a lot with BX, but I guess I am surprised that the refs let them challenge and said they were challenging for goalie interference when it was a dead play. So there was, I think, maybe some clarity issues with that. I don't know what everyone, and I should do a poll in our chat to see if they think it should have counted or not.
Yeah, we'll get into this more with Brandon. But yeah, let's just do it. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray? What did you think of Tort's decision to challenge that in the first place? And good goal or no goal? Did they get it right? Let us know in the chat here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Now, we'll dive into more of this, and we'll probably get into the Dylan Larkin news yesterday. It was covered pretty extensively by Friedge last night. I know the NHL doesn't like when news like this breaks during the Stanley Cup Final, but no surprise, Reem, that if you go to your trusty social media apps, half your feed will be fans of various teams with lowball offers to the Detroit Red Wings to get Dylan Larkin onto their squad.
It's the off season, Huss. There's only one, we don't even have a game a night, so we have off days, and Elliot Friedman broke the news yesterday that Dylan Larkin has requested a trade, and he's got a full no trade clause here. So I feel like a lot of the people making these trade requests, aren't taking that into consideration. So there's a couple teams, that seem like a fit. Everyone's saying Minnesota, they need a center, and I saw Michael Russo report today that Marcus Johansson, who had a really good season for them, he's going back to Sweden, which was a surprise. And yeah, they need a center. They just traded for Quinn Hughes. And Elliot Friedman mentioned all these guys on Team USA got a taste of winning, and Quinn Hughes, gets traded. Matthew Tkachuk was on that Team USA. He talked about, how the trade benefited him. Now Dylan Larkin looking to make a move. He's never played, or he's only played very few playoff games, Huss. So, they haven't really had any success. I think part of that might be his responsibility with the way they faded this year, but that's a guy who could be an impact player on a pretty good team. So I am curious how that is going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, Yzerman's not going to get pushed around on this. I mean, it's great to want to trade, and I'm sure it will eventually end up with Dylan Larkin being elsewhere, but I don't think people should mistake this for, a guy saying, yeah, I want to be traded, and I only want to go to the Los Angeles Kings, so make it happen, and he gets traded to the Kings. I mean, Yzerman's got to do what's in the best interest of the Detroit Red Wings. And, much like Cheveldayoff in the past, I mean, we've known Evander Kane was a perfect example who requested a trade a number of times. They said, yeah, well, if we get an offer we like, we'll do it. Otherwise, show up tomorrow for practice and get out there and play. But it does sound like it's kind of icy between the player and the general manager for sure. And there are some hard feelings. So, as soon as this series gets finished, I think there will be a lot of trade talk. Whether that turns into actual deals, we'll see. And whether it's legit or not, don't be surprised if a few of your favorite Winnipeg Jets names aren't sort of bandied about as well as sort of happening already. Listen, just before we get to the football, Reem, let's quickly bang out the latest. This will probably be pretty much our last one. Chud's Power Poll with the up-to-date Conn Smythe contenders. And I know you've got the top 5. Maybe we can do this in a blind ranking form. Of course, we do this for Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore, the best in the biz for over 80 years. Pop by and see the Derminator and the great people at Chud's at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, or check them out online at chudspowersports.com. All right, Brett Howden. Brett, 2 more goals last night. Takes him to 13. He is absolutely in the mix right now, Reem. And I still think that Vegas has the upper hand in this series and is likely to win. I'm not sure he's there at Mitch Marner, but I think he's right behind Marner right now. So I am going to put Brett Howden in at number 2 for the likelihood of winning the Conn Smythe trophy. I think at this point, Mitch is still the man. I'm sure, and I haven't checked it today, but if you go to CoolBet, I think he'll still be the favorite. And while Howden had this monster game last night, they did end up losing the game. And to be honest, one of the most impactful games, as I mentioned, was the brilliant play that Marner made on the tying goal. So Mitch is still part of it. The gap has narrowed between Marner and Howden in a big way last night, but I think Mitch is still number 1. Taylor Hall, he had the great start. He's been quieter in the series. I think we have to go 5 for Taylor Hall. Okay, Freddie Anderson. Listen, I think Freddie Anderson is the guy for Carolina if they win. So outside of Marner and Howden, and I give those guys a bit of an edge because, coming back in a best of 5 with home ice, they are the favorites. But Freddie came up big, certainly last night with a couple of huge plays. Let's go Freddie Anderson at 3 in the power poll, which then brings us to our final contestant, and that's Carter Hart. And to be honest, maybe I should have put Carter Hart at 5. Because Carter Hart's not winning the Conn Smythe. And even if he is completely deserving as the player that played the best in the playoffs and he could shut them out the rest of the way, I just don't think there's any way that a large portion of the writers will consider Carter Hart. So I guess I got to put him in this at 4, but realistically, he's probably more like 5 and maybe even behind a guy like Jack Eichel. It's interesting. Brett Howden was not charged in all of that, but certainly had some of the stench of the case around him, and we all remember him showing up for the court case and what he said and didn't say, and in the hoodie, and chastised by the judge. Like, there are, and again, I don't want to get too much into this, but I think there is a section of the media that basically treats him the same as the guys that were charged, albeit all acquitted. So even if he's close, I think the Marner is going to get the benefit of the doubt. So Marner, still the favorite for the Conn Smythe. There's your Chuds Power Sports Power Poll for the Conn Smythe contenders. Reem, we'll get back to hockey in a couple minutes when Brandon jumps on. But what a start to the CFL season last night. And listen, they can screw up the fantasy. They can go through the first half of the game with no stats triggering everyone. But when it all comes down to it, the CFL is so damn fun, and it is so back after an overtime thriller to kick off the 2026 season and a big comeback for the Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, as I said earlier, Davis Alexander, what remains undefeated, and even though they were down, the defense coming up big, and we got to see the new overtime, as possibility of no ties. So it's tough to see, former Bomber Carrick Wheatfall with the fumble in overtime. Has got to hang on to the ball, but these teams are going to be battling all year in the East for 1 and 2, and Montreal just a bit better. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but managed to, they play 4 quarters. I think that was the first time they led all game was after they kicked the game-winning field goal. So Montreal, very good. We know Davis Alexander. Almost forgot Dustin Crum, backup quarterback. Didn't have to rush too much, maybe a couple key.
He's going to be Sean McGuire this year.
He didn't. He had 3 for 7. It was Jake Dolegala ruining it for fantasy players with the rushing.
Oh, sorry,
TD.
I'm thinking Dolegala. Yeah, of course. I mean, he's so big. It makes a lot of sense that he would be the short yardage guy. But I mean, the quarterbacks that everyone's talking about was Davis Alexander, who was absolutely nails late in the game. I mean, they had one big 3rd and 10 that they needed to convert, and it was interesting as well. They didn't have them mic'd up, or at least I was in a bar, so I mean, I had the hockey game and the football game on. But on that 3rd and 10, with about a minute and a half left, you saw the coaching staff and Jason Moss. This is the first. It has been tweaked. They're back to the 20-second clock, but they're doing the math about if they did kick it away, what it would take to get back. And then very clearly, no, we're going to go. And a lot of coaches in the past, frankly, wouldn't have done that. Don't necessarily disagree with it. But they put it in the quarterback's hands. He got the job done. They got it into field goal range, tied the game up. And then, yes, as you mentioned, it was former Bomber Carrick Wheatfall in his Ticats debut being the GOAT with the overtime fumble. Did you see Nick Kowalski's post, Reem?
He referenced another Ticats play in the past with a fumble, correct?
Yeah, the exact same play last year in overtime between Hamilton and BC. But at that point, it was 38-all. And Bo, literally the same play, passed it, guy caught it, went over, fumbled, BC grabbed it just before it went out of bounds. That was the difference in that game. And our buddy Nick, former Winnipegger, now with the BC Lions, did a great job of popping that up, going eerily similar, the same play that ended it last night for the Ticats. But, I mean, we saw last night, that is the Bo Levi Mitchell story. Brilliant at times, staking his team to a 14-point lead, and then an absolutely inexcusable pass, pick 6, just opened the door for the Alouettes to come right back in the game, and they did it, and they didn't look back after tying it up. So Davis gets it done. Our parlay looks pretty darn good after that win last night. Now we need the Bombers to take care of business tonight. We'll talk Bombers with Ed Tait and tee up tonight coming up a little later on. And yes, Remo, you did mention it right off the bat, but we did have a stat snafu last night. And I'm not going to go crazy because they fixed it up before by halftime. But I got to tell you, I mean, considering we had the commission on, I specifically asked him about where the digital stuff was because he himself had brought it up, saying that it wasn't up to standards and assured us that everything was good to go and all of that was in the past. And then the live stats weren't working for the first half. But as I mentioned, I gave him some heat and it said, thankfully it's working. Let that be the only slip up. And we have a professional league with professional statistics like every other outfit right now that we pay attention to. Not the best start for the CFL's IT department, but once again, all the other stuff is noise when you got a football game like we saw last night to kick off the season.
Well, I think part of it is following the game for engagement. You want to get people into CFL fantasy. I think it develops fans and gets you more involved. And I can't follow the game. There's no stats. I was livid during the first half. I'm trying to follow along on my phone, and there was nothing. It was blank. Like, do they want to be considered, what's his terminology, this commissioner uses, a real professional sports league? It's disgusting. Like, get your stats on the Score app. Get your website working. It's 2026. How are they still having these issues? Well, it's bothering me.
You mentioned the Score app, too. I mean, when we were having our disaster of a fantasy draft on Sunday night, the thing that kept sticking out to me is that the entire fantasy platform is sponsored by the Score, which has been the best sports app, period, in the world, industry leader, and Sportsnet whiffed big time when they sold off their properties and let that one go. Everyone uses the Score. And the last couple of years, we haven't been able to get live stats on the CFL when we had for tons of years beforehand. Mind-boggling. So to have those issues, have it sponsored by the Score, and then have the stats problem last night, that's not the way we wanted to start the season. But let's, as they say, it's the last I'm going to speak of it until another screw-up happens again. Get it together. If you are in the CFL IT department, I don't even know what to say at this point, but let's be better, everyone, and let's see the commissioner's vision of being a truly professional outfit and league with proper information for fans and media alike.
Yeah, like they don't have an app. He said it's coming September 1. So Richie Leone, 5-time All-Star CFL punter. He's like, is the league website supposed to be not working? I'm just sitting there shaking my head. We want to follow the league. We want to be fans. We want to know what's going on. We want to be able to have conversations. And it was only the first half, but again, not acceptable. Not acceptable. Big fail.
Pete, I've said this before, and Patrolman Pete, like the MJHL app delivers live stats. I mean, you can get live stats for like 14 and 15-year-old hockey at this point. So the fact that it was even an issue once was embarrassing. But anyways, hopefully this is the last conversation we're going to have about that. We're going to talk some puck coming up with Brandon Rewucki, and then Ed Tait's going to join us in and around 2 o'clock from Calgary. Just before we bring in Brandon, gang, you got a week to get your tickets in time to make it for all those incredible early bird draws for the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery in support of the HSC, St. Boniface Hospital, and HSC Children's Hospital, 3 biggest hospitals here in Manitoba. I mean, buy early and win more. As we mentioned, we've got the early bird deadline next Friday, June 12th at midnight. Someone is going to win either a 26 Land Rover Range Rover SE plus $50,000, a 26 Mercedes-Benz G580 SUV valued at almost $250,000, or $210,000 in cash. They'll also have 25 winners of $500 cash. And of course, everyone with a ticket for the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery is in for the grand prize. Your choice of one of 5 dream home packages worth $1.7 million or $1.35 million cash tax-free. And every dollar spent, including the 50-50 and the extra cash plus, all goes to support Manitoba's most important hospitals, the HSC, St. B, and HSC Children's Hospital. Get your tickets today before the early bird deadline passes. Try hospitaldream.com, or you can pick them up in person at Red River Co-op or London Drugs locations. Huge shout out to our friends at Clean Line. And the Peel family was recognized and thanked, honored, I should say, at the Rady dinner last night, which certainly sounded like was incredibly well attended, as it always is, and was a huge hit. A couple Jays greats in town to do it, and obviously raising great money for important charitable causes here. Clean Line, huge part of the community, great supporters of ours. And for 40 years, the leaders in residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services. And Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Mark it down, 204-500-2001. That's the number for 24/7 emergency service help from Clean Line. And you can also check them out online at cleanline.ca to schedule an appointment. Many of you, like myself, are going to be heading out of town this week, out to the lake. You got batteries for your ATV, your boat, your RV, that motorbike or dirt bike you're going to be heading out. Now's the time to make sure you are powered up for summer. Manitoba Battery is the place to do that. Your local option with the best in selection and beating the pants off the big box stores in price with the lowest prices in town guaranteed and the best in customer service. You can pop by and see them in person, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive. But we know you're busy. You can give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they'll also be able to deliver those batteries to you anywhere inside the perimeter. For all your battery needs, it's Manitoba Battery, your local leader. Save time and money with our friends at Manitoba Battery. And just before we bring in Brandon, if you are on the move this summer, folks, lean on our pals at Rolly's Transfer to help you make that move and get that white glove treatment that they are famous for. They're the most trusted name in moving and storage, and they've been doing it for over 60 years in southern Manitoba. Check out their website at rollies.com, and in the top right corner, you can click request an estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And our friends at Rollies will turn it around quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they're famous for, now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today at rollies.com. All right, let's bring in our pal Brandon Rewucki, Skates and Plates, to talk a little puck on and off the ice. Rewucki, what's going on? How are you?
Doing pretty good. Spent a nice day doing 84-0. Don't know if you guys at WST have played that yet, but I'm trying to get back into reality now after being in a virtual world all day.
Okay, I have to ask you about this, this thing. But let me just quickly remind everyone that this segment's brought to you by our friends, the Prairie Toyota dealers, and the Toyota Tacoma, with the standard I-Force engine boasting an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. It's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer during Red Tag Days. Yeah, I've seen some of this online. I went and did it for a bit, but I didn't make it through a team. This is a simulation of team building, trying to make, I guess we're now 84-0 because it's an 84 game starting next year. I was a little confused by that, but what is it and how has it been taking all of your time?
Yeah, so it just like randomly gives you a team in a specific decade, and then you can pick from whoever played for that team. And it's just like a starting 6. And so the goal is to pick, obviously, the best team that then goes undefeated. But like, I mean, you can pick all the Hall of Famers and you don't get 84-0. So it's one of those things. Once you do it the first time and you don't get it, then it's awfully addicting. And
it pisses you off and you keep going.
Yeah. My wife thinks I've been just working my ass off today, but little does she know that I'm trying to find out how I can get Brad Park and Ray Bork and pick the perfect team to get it done here.
For people that are listening or want to check it out, what is the website?
I think it's just 84-o.com. It started out there was like a basketball one that was like really, really big, but then someone made an NHL one. So yeah, just be careful. That's all I'll say. Be careful.
You know what? It's funny. I mean, around the, start of the third period, I thought that, everyone might be doing this because the Cup final was going to be a snoozer and over early, but Carolina Hurricanes had something to say about that after blowing a historic 2-0 lead in game number one. They stormed back in an absolute thriller last night. And Brandon, we got a series.
Yeah. It's funny. Both games kind of played out the same way, where it felt like in game one when Vegas made it 2-1, and then in game two when Carolina made it 2-1, you got the feeling like, this might be going a certain direction here. I don't know, man. How far back do we have to go to look at the best opening two games for a Cup final? It's been a long, I would love to see the games that were this entertaining. They're back and forth. I love seeing a team give Carolina fits, because the Hurricanes for just years now have run up the shot clock counter in their favor, seemingly at will. And Vegas is more than giving them enough of a run for their money here. So I didn't really have a good sense of which way this was going to play out, going into the matchup. And now it's just I don't know, man. It's going 6 at least. And it might just come down to a lucky bounce here or there near the end. We'll see if the Jarvis OT goal gets him and the other three big dogs in Carolina going, because that's been their surprising Achilles heel so far, as their high-end talent hasn't delivered for them. But I mean, this is hockey at its finest. I mean, sure, it's untraditional markets, but the actual games themselves are extremely compelling. And I don't know if we're going to get a whole lot of 2, 3, 4 goal victories moving forward through the final 4 or 5 games of the series.
I'm with you. I mean, listen, I'll be honest, through 5 periods, into the first 5 minutes of that game, I'm like, this series, I was kind of feeling disappointment in advance, like I felt with the 4-game sweep of the Avalanche that nobody saw coming. And if they'd come out, after Carolina blew game 1, if Vegas had got game 2, I'm not even sure the series gets back for game 5 in Carolina. And to be honest, even if they had won that game just 4-1, I would have still felt really good about Vegas. But the way that Carolina had to battle back, really staring their season in the face, I think in a lot of ways changes. You can believe in momentum all you want, but certainly the mindset of Carolina. Vegas knows that they can battle back and prove it. Carolina hasn't been pushed like this, with the exception of early in the Montreal series. And it just makes for a fascinating best of 5 getting going on tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, you look from the Vegas side of things, and their big guys, they come to play every night. There's no off nights for Eichel. Marner's been absolutely fantastic, and then Mark Stone's just, you need a big goal? Yeah, no problem. I do I think it was your tweet that maybe it was, but the Stanley Cup Final runs through Manitoba.
Yeah.
That for us here in the province, that's been the most compelling part here, where, is Brett Howden Reggie Leach 2.0 with at 13 goals at a playoff run is beyond insane. I mean, you can make a case he's got a claim for the Conn Smythe right now, but then there's a few other Manitobans playing really well. And I guess the Nikolai Ehlers discourse drum up again for some unknown reason.
Oh God, yeah. Listen, I mean, we've spent a lot of oxygen on that, and everyone rubbing our noses in it, and I mean, it's just, it comes with the territory. But the thing that was really triggering coming out of game 1 was these morons in Toronto that all of a sudden, did the what about Winnipeg? They left okay, listen, you guys play your own ball and get ready for Mitch Marner to have a freaking Stanley Cup celebration there, and you can eat on that. We know what the story with Ehlers was, and We're not happy about it, but I think everyone's wishing him well here, as opposed to most Leaf fans scared that their worst dreams are coming true going forward. But just back to Howden for a minute. And, when we talk about the Jets, like how can the Jets get to, take that next step, be a more complete team? Like, it's not going to be with superstars. And we'll talk about Dylan Larkin. Like, I hate to say it, we're probably on his no-trade list. But guys like Howden, later first-round picks, bounced around a little bit. I mean, another shrewd play by Kelly McCrimmon, getting him in there, getting him in a place where he wanted, signing to a long-term, low-cost contract. And, I mean, now the guy is just continuing to show that in the biggest moments, he is able to elevate his game, and he's been a massive story and a big reason why they are where they are right now.
Yeah, and he was great last postseason for them too. Like, this isn't just a one-trick pony sort of a deal. Like, he's just elevated his game. He was kind of a throw-in, I think, coming from the Rangers, and this is what Vegas does as good or better than anybody. And I think, Huss, you could probably make the case the Jets do this as poorly as any team, and that's just having a great pro scouting staff. Like, Vegas can find these guys and pluck them and give them elevated roles, and then watch them succeed and give them outsized performance and production compared to the expectations for them. I mean, they did the same thing with Chandler Stevenson. And then the one thing Vegas does well is they reap the rewards and they allow somebody else to pay them for what they had done already. And they don't necessarily bury themselves in bad contracts. So Vegas has done this before, but I mean, a ton of credit goes to Brett Howden himself, who's taken the opportunity and run with it. But this is something the Jets need to be immensely better at. And kind of bizarre too, Huss. Like, you would think a guy like Howden would be 1,000% on their radar. You think of Geeky a few years ago too. Like, any time a Manitoban-born kid is available for either, relatively little on the trade market or just looking for an opportunity in free agency, if it costs you an extra $1 million a year, like, jump all over that and then give these guys an opportunity. And that's maybe been, I know Ehlers kind of grabs all the headlines here in Winnipeg, but I think there's also a warning sign or an unfortunate story that there's more missed opportunities than just the glaring one with the 60, 70 point players. It's, can you find a 20-point guy in tournament to a 40, 50 point guy? And those can be just as valuable over the course of time.
Yeah, I mean, anytime. I mean, both the guys you talked about were still first-round picks. I mean, they were always under team control. But I mean, listen, Vegas has done, we talk about them being so cutthroat and everything like that, which is true. But they also, and this I think is a real credit to Kelly McCrimmon and the players that he knows, that he believes in. Mark Stone did what it took to get him. He wanted to go there, so that's easy. But Howden's a perfect example. They got him, and then they put an offer forward. If you want to stay here, you want to be a part of this, sign this deal. He's like, okay, I'm in. And I think he, due to a number of reasons, probably wanted that security. I mean, he wasn't really a real established NHLer. I mean, we went from Tampa to the Rangers, and then obviously, but having the foresight of players that will turn into that maybe is the greatest skill. And it's not easy, but he was phenomenal last night. And then you talk about Mark Stone. I mean, what a gamer, man. Like, that tying goal was vintage Stone. Just being in there, you see the celebration. He's so intense. But I got to tell you, the play that Marner made to get that there, the patience that he showed, and then his ability to thread the needle and get that thing through three guys into an awkward spot with a lot of traffic on Freddie Anderson was absolutely brilliant. And, he hasn't popped as much in the first two games of the Cup Final as earlier on. But that is the sort of play that, even though they lost the game, you look back and go, I mean, in the clutch, coming up huge. And I thought that was, maybe underappreciated just how good it was because of, we know what Carolina does defending. I mean, that's not easy to do.
No. I mean, I think it's as good. The between the legs goal against Anaheim is obviously like the showstopper, but 99% of NHLers there 2-3 seconds earlier probably would have just fired it into some shin pads. And, it's not even a bad play, but it's like, okay, nothing happens from it. But it's little moves and patience and awareness and things like that separate, the greats from the also-rans. And he's been tremendous all season, all playoffs long, and kind of gets lost too, just how good he is defensively. Like penalty kill, up and down the ice, like Vegas might not be able to score 5 goals or 3, 4, 5 goals a game the rest of this series moving forward, but you've got Eichel, Stone, and Mitch Marner out there for the vast majority of the game up front. It's difficult to get past 3 forwards that are that skilled with their stick inside their own end and then are able to turn it around and bury you at the other end of the rink. So, I mean, for me, Mitch Marner's my Conn Smythe Trophy frontrunner right now. 1, with how well he's played, and 2, with how hilarious it would be if he left the Leafs and immediately won playoff MVP. So we'll see how the next 4 games play out.
Let's talk about the big news yesterday, broken by Elliot Friedman. Dylan Larkin asking out of Detroit, demanding a trade. 4 years left, I believe, on a deal, $8.7 million. He's a home state guy. He played at Michigan. He's the captain of the Detroit Red Wings. That is a very, very tough pill to swallow. And from the sounds of it, listening to 32 Thoughts earlier today, pretty icy between the two sides as well, which is going to make for a very interesting negotiation of a guy with a full no trade, but also a team that will not be pushed around, and certainly a GM and Steve Yzerman that won't be having that.
Yeah, it really comes down to, do you think he's going to be a holdout? And I don't know, man. Like, I get he's probably pissed and frustrated with the team just spinning their wheels and watching Buffalo pass them, watching Ottawa pass them, Montreal pass them in the Atlantic Division. But, like, do you get the sense that you think he's going to actually hold out of actual regular season games? I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. And I don't think Steve Yzerman's just going to roll over and be like, "Oh, you want out? Sure, I'll take the best I can get, and we'll watch this playoff drought go for another 5 years." So I will see. Like, I think for Stevie Y, is there going to be a trade out there that threads the needle where they can still be competitive this upcoming season, but maybe match the acquisition and the assets they get with the Raymonds and the Siders in terms of their ages? I have my doubts that move is out there for them. So while everyone's excited about it right now and putting their best trade package together, I kind of think this one's going to go by the wayside, because I just don't know if there is a team out there that can put the only one, honestly. I know people have said Minnesota. I just don't think the Wild have anything that would really entice the Red Wings. The one team I do wonder about is Utah. Specifically because Utah has the Denye kid, who they took 4th overall a year or 2 ago. He's going to be probably 20, 21. That could be a situation where, if you're the Red Wings, it's like, if we can grab Denye and maybe a few other pieces here, yes, it pushes us back this upcoming season, but then it's like a brand new core and group is leading the Red Wings into the future.
Does Yzerman have the time to make that deal, though? Like, the Yzer plan has been maligned for a few years. They didn't make the moves at the deadline last year. This year they did. They still came short. I mean, there's not a lot of patience right now for resetting and doing it again right now in the Motor City. Like, they've never played a playoff game at Little Caesars.
Yeah. I don't really know what your options are then, though. And it seems like, I know Yzerman and Larkin don't have a great relationship, but it sounds like Yzerman and the younger Illich have a great relationship. And I think he said, a few months back, like, I'm not firing this guy. Like, you think I'm going to be the one that sends Stevie Y packing? I don't think so. So maybe it's a Kevin Chevaldayoff thing where he's got more job security than people might think, just looking from the outside. But yeah, like I just have my doubts that we are going to see a trade ultimately take place here, because even if they were able to get a good package, maybe some high draft picks and things like that, like you said there, does it really push them forward at all? Unless you're getting an elite potential number 1 centerman back in a trade, I don't know if Stevie Yzerman's just going to lay down and take it from whichever GMs are throwing offers together there. So excited, but not hopeful we're going to see something.
Okay, now I'm going to put my fantasy hockey GM hat on here for a minute. The Wings want to trade, or are being forced into trade, whatever you want to call it. They got to move Larkin. They are probably not looking at trading $1 for 3/4. I mean, they would like to get an impact player. I mean, like, you're trading your number one center and your captain. I mean, that's a huge, huge loss. So and I don't think in a 1-for-1 deal that you are going to find a team that's going to give them a player of equal value, impact, then you're just going to swap those players. Like, I'm not sure that trade is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out here for a moment. The Wings are looking to get another star-level player that can come in and play big minutes and be a top liner. Might there be a way that a third party could enter into a trade where, for instance, Larkin goes to Team B, Team B trades a couple first-round picks, a top prospect, whatever that package is, to Team C, and Team C trades a Larkin-level player to the Detroit Red Wings. So Detroit gets what they feel is equal value, not in a package, but in a player. The other team gets Larkin for what you would normally see being traded.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other team that might not have the ability to get Larkin themselves ends up with a package. And I think you know where I'm going here on this. If the Jets were in that spot that they, or another team, feel like, they could benefit more short, but mostly long-term by moving one of the key players of their core involved in a 3-team trade. A lot of these, and I know they've been discussed before, it rarely happens, but the more I was thinking last night about the unique situation of Detroit and where they are, the pressure on the GM and all that, I kind of have some more time for the possibility of that happening in this case.
I mean, I'm with you that there should be more 3-team trades because it seems like that's the easiest way to solve everybody's needs. But for whatever reason, I think NHL GMs aren't as progressive with that line of thinking, right? But like, I'm
a lot of roadblocks too.
That is true. That is true. But like, I mean, we see the NBA find a way to. We see 3-4-team trades at some times, right? So it's not impossible. Maybe just needs a little bit more. I don't know. I think GMs love to be a little bit more on the passive side, because a big move potentially threatens job security. I mean, yeah, like if you look at it from a Winnipeg perspective, probably, I mean, it would have to start with the 8th overall pick and Cole Perfetti, I would think. And then what the assets are after that, I'm not sure.
Well, to be honest, I'm thinking the other way. I'm thinking that the Winnipeg would be the team that would be giving Detroit, who knows, maybe another Michigan native on a similar contract or even longer. And Larkin goes to Team B, and then that team is unloading, a young center under team control and a first-round pick and, a few things like that end up in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'd be open to it. Again, I just don't know if we see NHL GMs get that creative with it. So I'm not.
Well, and there also has to be an appetite from Winnipeg or this other team to be willing to move off one of those top players that would satisfy Detroit's need for that player. I tell you what, we're gonna have some time on this one because I think the minute that this series ends, there'll be a lot more smoke on the Larkin situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there might be a few more, and Elliot sort of alluded to that on 32 this weekend, so it should be good. Brandon, have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy the Bomber game tonight, the rest of the series, and we'll catch up next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Go Blue. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Good stuff. There is Brandon Rewucki. And speaking of Go Blue, we're going to head to Calgary in just a second and hook up with our man, Ed Tait. Now, the place to be this week was at the brand new Princess Auto flagship store, 500 Panet Road. The place to be on Thursday will be Princess Auto Stadium as the Bombers have their home opener on Thursday night. But the Bombers are at it this evening. This weekend, if you're kicking around, get out and see what everyone is talking about. The flagship store of Princess Auto, grand opening was just a couple days ago. They got food, they got beers, they got crossbows, they got hunting, camping, fishing equipment. It has been universally lauded as one of the coolest stores ever. So I'd suggest you get out and check it out. princessauto.com for more information on that. But bring the kids. It's free ice cream for the kids there. Everyone seems to be loving it, and I know everyone will be love getting their butts in the seats for Bomber football again at Princess Auto Stadium next week. We did our Chuds Power Poll earlier today, but weekend is a great time to get down to Chuds and get a move on having an absolutely amazing summer with the best in power sports at Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore up in Gimli, Chuds Power Sports. An incredible selection of new vehicles when it comes to motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, and you want to hit the water, they've got boats, outboard motors, and more. Maybe you're just going to cruise for the next few months. The best in recreational vehicles as well. They've also got used RVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and so much more with the most dedicated and experienced staff in the industry, great financing programs, and so much more. And don't forget, if you head over to chudspowersports.com to click on True North Parts for the best in clearance deals on the top brands for gear and accessories. Chuds Power Sports up in Gimli. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. Big cheers to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. I know they had a great weekend last weekend presenting the Manitoba match play. I'm sure Dr. Terry's going to get out, be swinging them on the weekend. But as you get ready for summer, you want to take care of a few things, get that dental work done so you don't have to worry about it at all during the summer. St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Manitobans and taking care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to dental implants. They do it all. They got a beautiful new spot at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. Make an appointment for you and your family at St. Vital Dental Center, stvitaldental.ca, and tell them that the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. All right, we'll do our BP giveaway a little later on. We'll do that in connection with the marble race. So let's get out to Calgary right now, because the wait is over. There is no more sleeps. We've got 6 hours to kick off, and our guy Ed Tait is finished with the preseason. We got a depth chart, and now it's just time to start the season. Edward, thanks for doing this. How are you feeling?
Fantastic. Huss, how are you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm fired up. I'm ready for the weekend. Last night, was such a great sports night. Post up with a few buddies at the local, and we're watching the hockey game. But to be honest, listen, you can screw up the fantasy league. The stats might not work. There might be a few things that are still issues for the CFL, but when it comes down to it, the product is the product. And what a way to start off the season with an OT thriller between two awesome teams last night.
Yeah, you're right. You know, all that other stuff, the IT troubles, it is frustrating too. And you kind of have to put that aside when you see a game like that, right? The game was epic. And to your point, Huss, it was a great advertisement for the league. All the other stuff, you have to cross your fingers and hope they get it fixed. But we've been talking about that for a while too. I don't want to get on a rant either. I got to be careful what I say here. But and just in terms of the product, great game, great opener. We'll see if the other two games this week can live up to that. It's going to be hard.
You know, the just on last night's game, nice start for Hamilton, nice lead. No lead is safe in the Canadian Football League, but isn't that just the story of Bo Levi Mitchell? BLM giveth and BLM taketh away. 14-point lead in complete control of that football game, and just an inexplicable pick six just allowed the Montreal Alouettes right back in the game. And you give a chance like that to Davis Alexander, history tells us he will make you pay.
Yeah, and I felt bad for Carrick Wheatfall too. The former Bomber had a really good game and then has that fumble in overtime too. So, Hamilton will be kicking themselves about what happened there. Full credit to the Alouettes. When they were down 14, I thought, wow, this is going to be a big win for Hamilton. So anyway, that's the way it goes sometimes. And two really good teams. Those two teams look like the class of the East, that's for sure.
Well, the game that we really care about is tonight in Calgary. You've traveled with the team out there. You've been with the club throughout training camp and the first week of practice of the season. What's the vibe like around the 2026 Blue Bombers before kickoff tonight?
Yeah, it's interesting, Huss, because, there's not a lot of chatter about this team. And it seems like for the first time in a long time, there's not a lot of people picking them to finish first in the division or even have a home playoff game, especially after what happened last year. But there's you ask about the vibe, there's a quiet confidence with this group. I don't think anybody's thumping their chests and saying, why are you overlooking us, or anybody getting angry of any kind. But there is a quiet confidence. And when you look at what they've done in totality since the winter, it's hard not to think that this team is better on paper. They were 10-8 last year. It's funny how we look at 10-8 as such a disaster, but they were 10-8. And they added 5 really important people in free agency. They've got a new offensive coordinator. I think Jake Thomas as the new D-line coach is kind of under heralded too. So there is a quiet confidence right now. Now, of course, like you said, 6 hours to kickoff or whatever it is. We'll see what it looks like then. But right now, this team feels pretty good about themselves.
By the way, I was just mentioning Boston Pizza earlier. If WSTers, if you're looking to get together and have a few and a pie, maybe an MVP platter for any of our winners tonight, there is the viewing party that the Bombers are involved in over at BP Kenaston. And I know they're doing a big out by Princess Auto as well, the Transcona tailgate party at 515 Panet Road. So if you are looking for a place to get together with other Bomber fans, if you're in the south side of the city, go to BP Kenaston. And then I'm interested about this Transcona tailgate party. That sounds right in my wheelhouse, Ed. I'm going to need to be getting some reports from that. Listen, the depth chart's out. I mean, for folks that have just sort of been paying attention to the offseason moves, but are going to see this team for the first time tonight, what are the big differences starting out from the 2026 Blue Bombers and what we saw at the end of last year?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned, I keep calling them the Fab Five of the free agents that they added in the offseason. So Jarrell Broxton, maybe one of the best tackles in the league, is going to play right tackle. That's a big change. You've got Tim White, game-breaking receiver. Tommy Neal, touchdown Tommy, comes over from Saskatchewan. I think those guys really help the offense. Jake Seresna is a beast on the D-line. Jonathan Moxey at corner. Like, these are really good adds for this team. And then the other changes for tonight that are of note is that Tyler Ellsbury will make his first start at center. And then Major Williams, a rookie, will be at corner. So I'm sure that Dave Dickinson and Vernon Adams have kind of circled him on the depth chart. They're going to test him early. But this is a pretty good looking team. And they lost to Calgary 3 times last year, all before mid-August. So I'm not sure if that's still stuck in the craw of some guys, but I think this is a really good matchup on paper. And one of the interesting things is we're going to get a real good feel for what the West Division is going to look like this season. I think it's kind of a mess. I don't know who to pick first and who to pick fifth. It's a big jumbled mess, and in a good way. I think every team in this division is tough. So for Winnipeg to have Calgary tonight, it's going to be a good barometer to start the season, knowing that this team was just 4-6 in its own division last year. First time since 2018 they had a losing record in the West, and I think that's a big reason why they finished 10-8 and didn't have a home playoff game. You've got to be good in your own division, and Winnipeg wasn't good enough last year against the West.
Ed, you mentioned Major Williams is starting at corner. I mean, give us the quick CV on a guy that's going to be leaned on pretty heavily tonight.
Yeah, he's got an NFL background. The Bombers saw him in a camp last year, and the book on him, like at the beginning of camp, he wasn't standing out instantly. And then as camp went on, this is a very complicated defense. As camp went on, he was the guy that seemed to be picking up all the different changes that Jordan Younger likes to throw at people. And he's a real good cover guy, good speed, all the things you need from a corner. He's going to play the the boundary side cornerback spot. Jonathan Moxey's on the wide side, so that's interesting because sometimes it's a tougher matchup. But there's an awful lot to like about this guy. And Trey Vavel is listed as his backup too, which is interesting because he's the kick returner. But we saw Vavel get some starts at corner last year too, and I thought he was pretty solid too. I wonder if they're just they don't want to go with Vavel because the kick return game takes such a pounding on people. I'm not sure he could do both, but he certainly wants to. So an interesting combination. If Major Williams was to struggle for whatever reason, they do have an option there in game to go to Trey Vavel too.
Ed, you mentioned on the offense, we've got some new faces on the offensive line, some new receivers. One guy we haven't talked about, the new face, is the offensive coordinator, Tommy Condell. I'm not sure how much we can gauge from camp. Certainly not a lot from the preseason, but what do you expect from this Blue Bomber offense, and how different will it look to the one that we saw last season?
Well, let's start with that. I think it will look different than last year. One of the things that frustrated me watching from the press box all the time was how predictable they were when they went into what we would call their jumbo package, when they always brought in the extra offensive lineman. And then it seemed like, I don't know what the percentages are, but they ran out of that package so much. What I've seen an awful lot in training camp is that sixth offensive lineman is only coming in on short yardage or goal line situations. They use a lot of fullback with Michael Ike and tight end with Dante Daniels, the big kid they drafted from North Carolina State. So we're going to see more of those packages, which I really like. And then Tommy Condell has been around this league for a long time, so he likes to capitalize on mismatches. I was talking to Zach Claros about this yesterday. Zach has a lot of confidence in Tommy's play calling and how you can set up a defense and how you adjust during the game. I think we're going to see Tim White in a lot of different ways, the same ways that Nick Dembski's been used. He'll get some carries maybe. I think we're kind of, myself included, we're kind of sleeping on Pokey Wilson a little bit because we've been so excited about Tim White and also what Nick Dembski could do. You could have a 3,000-yard receiver in Pokey Wilson, I think. So it's going to be interesting. You're right. It will be very interesting to see how he handles the run game. That's what everybody's concern is. When you have the best tailback in the league, you got to make sure he's busy. I think Tommy Condell's so smart that there's no way he's not going to keep number 20 involved. We might see him catching more passes than he has in the past, even though he set a career high last year. So that's really going to be fun tonight, Huss, is to see what this offense looks like, because you're right, you can't base anything on the preseason. But I think there's a lot of pieces there, and I know that people on this offense are really excited, especially number 8, and that's the most important one to be excited about.
Well, speaking of number 8, I know there was a clip that the Bombers put up yesterday, and the quote from Zach was, "I feel like I have something to prove." Tell us about being around QB1, along with his relationship with the new QB2 in town, and Zach's focus to maybe make up for an underwhelming year by his and Blue Bomber standards last year.
Yeah, you know, if you look back to last year, remember in the opener, he was suspended, that stupid suspension last year from the league. He missed 5 starts last year, and it was a frustrating year for him on so many different levels. You know, a couple times this week, he's been asked, and other players on this team have been asked about Zach and whether he's got something to prove. And the universal answer has been he's always got this chip on his shoulder. He's always got something to prove. I don't think people realize how fiery he is, but on top of all this now, we've got a guy who's 37 years old, turns 38 in August, and he's going into the last year of his contract. I think that is a factor. He might not say it publicly, but I do think this guy's got something major to prove. And I think that's why what this team did in the offseason to surround him with more talent, to get him the offensive coordinator that he wanted, is so important. And because now I think he's got his mojo back. And I think we're going to start to see it tonight because he's had a really good camp, and I know he likes the chess match of football more than anybody. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight, what this offense looks like, but also how they react to what Calgary does to them in game. And I think that's an underrated part of what Tommy Condell can bring to this offense. Yeah, you mentioned the number 2 quarterback. that's something to keep an eye on too. Who comes in for short yardage, whether it's Taylor Elgersma or Bryce Perkins? Going to be interesting. You hope that those guys aren't getting a lot of snaps, because there's only one scenario where your backups are getting a lot of snaps that you're happy about, and that's when you're kicking the snot out of somebody. So we'll see if that happens tonight.
I'm and again, this we're all geeked to play CFL fantasy this year. And we've been doing DraftKings for the last number of years, so we've sort of have been playing it, just not on a season-long basis. But there's nothing that's been more frustrating for Brady Oliveira owners, and probably for Brady Oliveira himself, about how little he has been used in and around the goal line. With the new OC in, with the issues they had at times using the quarterbacks on these obviously telegraphed sneaks, is there a chance we might see Brady actually on the field a little bit more this year in the Condell offense inside the 5?
Yeah, that's, it's funny. He was almost a decoy at times, wasn't he, last year near the goal line? Again, we're going to get a feel for that tonight, Huss, because he got that short run touchdown in Saskatoon in the one preseason game. So maybe that's a bit of a hint. I'm with you, though. I don't play the fantasy, but I think one of the most frustrating things as an NFL fantasy player is to have your running back do all the work down to the 1 yard line and then somebody else carries it in. I hate that in fantasy football in the NFL. So I feel people's frustration on that when it comes to number 20. Look, it's not that he's a scat back either. He's a guy he can bulldoze people. So I don't understand why he's not busier at the line of scrimmage. We'll see what happens tonight. Calgary's D-line is pretty good. They are missing Flo Olrimalade tonight, and Jaleb Hutchings, the guy that came back from the NFL. He's not dressing either. So maybe Winnipeg will try to pound Calgary's defensive line a little bit more than they would have if those two guys were in the lineup tonight.
Well, listen, any offensive coordinator worth of salt coming into Winnipeg is going to realize that you have an absolute stud and a horse in number 20, and especially
100%.
With the revamped offensive line, you have to get him touches. But Condell has historically been a far more pass-heavy offense. Do you think that the distribution of touches for Brady might skew more to receiving than it has in previous years, Ed? Like a lot of times Brady would just run. There was a few games based on scheme and whatnot that all of a sudden he caught a lot, but it wasn't like you could count on Brady Oliveira catching 4 or 5 balls a game. Might we see a little more balance between run and pass when it comes to getting Brady the football this year?
One of the things that Nick Dembski said to that earlier this week, Huss, is that Tommy Condell is excellent at the play action. So we'll see if that changes how Brady gets his touches. Will Winnipeg disguise the run a little bit more than they have in the past? That's one of the things that Paul Appolise talked with me about during the Grey Cup last year. He thought that Winnipeg needed to disguise runs a little bit more. We might see him catch some more passes. And then, if this offense is clicking the way it does, when Winnipeg was winning all those games and won a couple of cups in a row, it was because they were taking over games in the second half. And then in the fourth quarter is when Brady would get a lot of touches because they were ahead in a game and they were trying to close it out and they could control the clock. So that's the ideal scenario here is get ahead and then really lean on your run game, because then it's almost unstoppable in the fourth quarter when the clock's ticking away too. So the question about Tommy Condell and how much he'll run and what he's done in the past is very interesting. I just don't think he's had a tailback like this in the past either.
Oh, I think we just lost Ed. He got zapped from Calgary. We'll see whether we can get Ed back in just a minute. Reem, it's going to be about an overall team performance tonight, but we when it comes to Brady Oliveira, we got big fans.
I
All right,
lost you, Huss. I can't hear you.
Eddie, yeah. Oh, can you still not hear me?
I got you now. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you got zapped there by the internet gremlins, if you can. So you might just have to rewind a little bit.
Okay.
But moving on, we were just kind of talking about Brady and like the way that he can be used. Yeah. He's certainly not a scat back. He can be a bulldozer, But when I think of some of these games that he has really shone, with 9 or 10 receptions, I mean, he has that club in his bag. We didn't see it a lot in the past, but as you mentioned, with the play action that Tommy Condell likes, we might be seeing a little bit more of a balanced approach when it comes to Brady. But the bottom line is you still need to give him the opportunity to be impactful by putting the ball in his hands, whether it's run or pass.
100%. And what's interesting about what I've seen in camp has been a lot of different looks with Brady. Brady in the backfield, Brady spread out wide coming into the backfield, all these kind of things where they put him in motion. In years past, when he was just behind the quarterback all the time, I think it made it pretty predictable, easy for a defense to stack the box with a bunch of people. And the way the offense has struggled to throw the ball the last couple of years, it was like they were daring Winnipeg to try to beat them with the pass. They could load up the box and take Brady out of a game. So that's why getting Tim White, Tommy Neal has been important. But just how Tommy Condell uses all these pieces, and especially number 20, is going to be interesting because he is still, in my opinion, the best tailback in this league, a guy that can take over a game, and a guy that gets stronger as the game goes on. And you can't say that about a lot of tailbacks, but you can about him because it seems like the more work he gets, the better he gets. And so I know that Tommy Condell knows that. This is a smart man. And again, it's going to be fascinating to see how he uses Brady tonight.
Eddie, before we go, for fans that are going to be kind of doing a crash course in the Bombers before tonight in this 2026 version, we've sort of gone over a bunch of the new faces. But, overall, I mean, is there a player, 2, 3 guys that you're particularly intrigued to see how things look tonight, and just this first night performance of the impact that they can have on what the Blue Bombers are going to try to do this year?
Well, there's a couple guys that I've mentioned already here, but everybody's fascinated to see what Tim White can do. We saw in that one drive in Saskatoon, the only drive that Zach Claris had, he threw him 3 times. All of his completions were to Tim White in the one drive. So what kind of impact he's going to have on this offense to even free up some room for Nick Dembski or Pokey Wilson will be interesting. The guy that didn't play in the preseason that I'm really excited to see is Jake Serezna. This is a guy that can blow things up from the inside on the D-line and on the end. He's a beast. I was sitting behind him on the bus from the airport here yesterday, and like his arms are this big, man. Like he is a big dude, and I think he's going to be a bulldozer at the line of scrimmage. And it would be kind of cool to see a real good push up the middle with Willie Jefferson on one side, Cam Lawson in there, and Kadron Jenkins too, the new defensive end. I think there's some potential there for this defensive line to make more of an impact than they have in the past.
Ed, thanks so much for doing this. I cannot wait for the season. Can't wait for next Thursday to get going again. It's been, it seems like a bit of a longer off season this year for the Bombers. And, it was sort of funny. I was talking to Stuart Johnson about a bunch of things, and I referred to, a Bomber season sort of, below the Bomber standard. And it was still a 10-win team that was right there in the mix of everything. But we know that the goals are much higher than that. So good luck to the squad this year. Good luck to you and your team. Fill people in on what awaits them now, as well as after tonight's game over at bluebombers.com from you and the content team.
Yeah, we got a good crew, man. We've got 3 people here for this game. We have lots of stuff on the site now. We'll have our Boyd Auto Body and Glass post-game rewind right after the game. Lots of stories through the weekend and in the next week. We've got some really cool stuff planned for next week. The video team, I'll give them all the credit, have got some really cool stuff before the home opener. So keep your eyes peeled on bluebombers.com and all the social media channels because our crew is rocking and rolling already. I always say this, I think our content team's undefeated. So regardless of what happens tonight, we'll bring it too.
Well, let's get to 1-0 tonight, and then we can worry about a big win at home for the opener and the Strevy retirement party on Thursday at Princess Auto Stadium, which, if it's possible to add any more juice to a Bomber home opener in that crowd, that's the thing to do it. Ed, you have a great one, and good luck to the squad tonight and throughout the year.
Appreciate you having me on, Huss. Have a good day. See you, Remo.
Thanks so much. All right, there is Ed Tait. Now, let's just quickly hear from Mike O'Shea. We're going to talk to Ben Kramer in a few minutes, a little more CFL, and then Hacksaw will jump on afterwards. Rem, this is number 2. This is Coach O'Shea. You heard from a lot of the players. We've talked about it. I mean, Mike O'Shea's a constant here, but there is some unfinished business. Here's what O'Shea had to say about the excitement for tonight's kickoff and the upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just trying to keep everything in check so I can get a good night's sleep. But usually, this one brings a lot of excitement, a lot of work put in camp, and looking forward to seeing what it all looks like.
Is there anything unique about this season that brings excitement for you this time around?
Nope.
Thought I'd check.
Mike, just give us a sense of how you think this squad is going to be.
Yeah, I think we're a good football team, on paper right now. I think they've got to figure out how to come together and figure out how to survive and thrive the ups and downs of a season, right? So it's week one, and we'll go out there, and I'm sure they'll be playing hard and having fun doing it and figuring it all out.
When you add pieces like you did, veteran pieces, that's got to give a coach some comfort, right? Because there's no mystery about what a Jake Seresna or a Jarrell Broxton can do on and on.
Yeah, the guys we added in free agency, we know they're pretty consistent throughout their careers, and they play at a very high level consistently. So we're all looking forward to that, and so are they. I mean, they want to go out there and prove things to their new teammates too.
All right, Reem, O'Shea's in mid-season form. The quick no to DT. I mean, I will admit, it cracks me up. I mean, as an adjacent member of the media, I would sometimes love to get more from O'Shea, but it is sort of funny when he just drops one-word answers and moves on. Oh, anything else?
Yeah, you go through these press conferences with O'Shea. Doesn't like to give a whole lot. Did say he was excited for the season, elaborated a little bit on some of the new guys, and Ed just mentioned Jake Seresna. I have nightmares from him when he was with Toronto in the Grey Cup against the Bombers, and if he can be a guy who can get to the quarterback and apply pressure, would be absolutely huge for this defense that hasn't really done that that well the last couple seasons. So I'll give them an A+ on it, addressing areas of need. Tim White as well with Ontario Wilson. Could they have 3 1,000-yard receivers this year? Certainly a lot of excitement, but maybe, we're being a bit too optimistic. They're playing Calgary, didn't beat Calgary last year, had some rough times. You all remember the Stampede Bowl, and it's a damn shame they didn't give a rematch for this season. I think it's Toronto. Good luck selling that one out. But we'll have to wait for the official Stampede Bowl rematch. But tonight, it is the opening game. It should be exciting.
Hey, I got to listen to this one. This is 3. Osh was asked if he gives Osh asked if he gives a big, rousing season opener speech to the fellas.
No. I do not. Whatever I think they need in the moment, which is probably not very much, they'll be all ready to go. They're professionals, right? So they're self-motivated to begin with, and then for the vets especially, that motivation, the extra motivation is just standing right beside them. So not much will need to be said.
Right, not much needs to be said. Guys, go out there, win a football game, and we get on the plane. Let's just quickly hear from Zach Caleros ahead of tonight's game. Pokey Wilson's back, signed to a multi-year deal, and Tim White is the new guy in town. One of a few. Here's what Zach had to say about Pokey Wilson and Tim White, the wide receiver combo, 2 of his top targets.
It could be really a great thing, I think. You guys have been at a lot of the practices and can see what those guys can do. Tim, obviously, was it 5 years in a row, 1,000-yard receiver. Obviously, you see the talent that he possesses and what he did in his time in Hamilton. Pokey in a short time being here, relatively short time, with him only being here half the season last year and the season before. He's been really explosive. When the ball's in the air, you're very confident that he's going to go up and make a play on it no matter where it's thrown. When the football is in his hands, he can really create with it. And he's been a great teammate and a guy who really understands what we're trying to get accomplished on offense, so he's in the right spots at the right time.
All right, there is Zach Caleros, 8 o'clock tonight. It is go time for the Bombers and the Calgary Stampeders on Friday Night Football. We're going to hook up with Ben Kramer in just a second, talk a little more CFL. Folks, tickets are on sale and going fast for our Winnipeg Sports Talk Night with the Fish. Our Gold Eyes WST patio party is June 30th. It's a Tuesday night, and it should be a real fun one because the next day is Canada Day, so you might be able to mix in an extra little brown jug out at Craft Beer Corner or with us on the patio. Grab your tickets before they are gone and join us for what should be another great night. We sold this out last year. Had such a great time. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com. You'll see the link and count yourself in to join us for what should be an awesome, awesome night for the WST patio party June 30th. And if you are in the city this weekend, the Fish are hot. 14 across the plate last night, finishing up their series against Sioux Falls. They open up a series tonight against Sioux City. They'll go 7 o'clock tonight. I believe it's Goldie's birthday. And they will be doing fireworks after the game. Saturday, 6 p.m. start. And Sunday, 1 p.m. goldeyes.com/tickets for those. And again, get your seats for the WST patio party at our site at winnipegsportstalk.com. The gang at Royal Sports is ready for another weekend, and they are ready for the World Cup next week. If you have not been into Royal lately, you need to get down there before Canada plays on Friday because they've got the best selection of Canada soccer gear you will find literally everywhere, and they are absolutely packed for the World Cup with merch and FIFA merch for the World Cup, as well as so many teams around the league. While you're there, check out the soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, and a huge selection of bikes, everything you need to get outside and make the most of the beautiful Manitoba summer. And it's all waiting for you at Manitoba's #1 sports superstore for over 50 years, Royal Sports. They're at 750 Pembina Highway. And make sure to follow them on Instagram for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Maybe you're heading out of town this weekend or thinking about it later on this summer. If you're planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. If you're looking for ideas on the go, give them a follow on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't miss experiences from across the province. Or if you prefer a personal touch, stop by one of the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. We're actually going to be down on a home opener night for the Bombers next Thursday doing our show at the Forks at the Visitor Information Center. So more than happy to pop down and join us there as well. And hey, looking ahead to next week, back at it at Assiniboia Downs. Man, we had a great time with our winners on Wednesday and the WST team. If you haven't been out to Assiniboia Downs this year, make a plan to get out there soon. Such a great night. We were there on Wednesday. They've got the Western Wednesdays. You can do the mechanical bull like Remis did on Wednesday night, the little line dancing, the cowboy hats, and just a great night with the ponies running around the track. And as we did, if you get an opportunity, make a reservation in that clubhouse dining room for that incredible prime rib buffet. Find out more at asdowns.com. Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the year, as well as select Mondays at Assiniboia Downs. All right, a little more CFL talk before the Bombers get going tonight. Let's bring in Ben Kramer from Onside CFL Fantasy on Substack to get ready for kickoff. Ben, what's up? It's great to have you back on WST.
Yeah, it's football season, man. It's nice to be able to make a little bit of money again instead of just losing at betting golf every week.
No, don't. Hey, what'd you think of the game last night? I mean, that was, to me, kind of vintage Ticats and Alouettes. Ticats look great. An egregious pick six by Bo Levi Mitchell allows Montreal back in. And you put Davis Alexander and that team in a close game, and more often than not, they're coming out with a win.
Yeah, it's great stuff from Bo, right? Like, it's exactly what we expect. He puts up numbers when he has the opportunity against defenses that are playing soft, and when they need him most, he's happy to let the other team back in it with a pick six, right? That's pretty much vintage for the last few years. So, yeah, it was a heck of a lot of fun to be able to watch that one last night. And, getting overtime in the first game of the season is nothing but fun, especially when you're betting overs.
Well, no doubt. And listen, I mean, we've talked a lot about fantasy. There's been a lot of talk about the stats, which weren't working at the start. We could sit here and complain, but at the end of it, once you focus in on what's happening on the field, the CFL always seems to deliver, and it did in a big way last night. From a fantasy perspective, though, I think particularly for people playing season long for the first time this year, these first couple weeks, I think, are really important for seeing what we maybe thought was going to happen with what actually plays out on the field. What were your fantasy takeaways from Hamilton and Montreal last night as far as key guys in good positions to have good seasons, or maybe some guys that more was expected from that just didn't get the touches or the opportunities?
Yeah, like for me personally, having Alexander, Philpott, and Sneed on my fantasy team this year last night looked pretty good. That was that was the kickoff that I was hoping and that I was needing to beat my dad this week in our matchup. So, shout out to me on that one. But for the rest of the team, it was interesting just to see where the target distributions went. For Montreal, with Rambo gone and then Speaker out, it came down to just two guys completely. It was entirely just Philpott and Sneed filled up the target sheet. No one else even got looks. So Hollins was pretty much an afterthought, and the rest of the guys on the field side just were there as decoys. So that's interesting to keep note of going forward, that it seems like this year it's going to be kind of a two-man show for Montreal. And on the Hamilton side, Lawler was basically playing the decoy for the first half of the game and then finally got a few short touches in the second half. But Gittins got a lot more work than I thought he would this year. I wasn't sure what to expect from him in this offense, kind of as the wide receiver 3 option. But he was in the mid-high 20s for target share percentage last night, and I was expecting more kind of mid-high teens like he's been for most of his career. So it'll be interesting to see whether he keeps up that workload and that he becomes a kind of viable wide receiver 2 for people on their fantasy teams, or whether he's going to slip back down in a little bit of the ranks.
Now, just before we kind of talk about some of the lines up for this game tonight and props that people might want to jump on, going into tonight, what's your sort of thoughts preseason on the Bombers and Stampeders in a pretty wide open West Division that a lot of people like BC to be the number 1 team, but you can make an argument for every team that they'll be very competitive this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because even just looking at preseason win totals, I know Calgary got posted at 8.5 for the over-under. And that seemed kind of shockingly low, frankly, for a team that won 11 last year and is still maybe a better team than that they were last year in some of the free agent additions they made on defense. I think Calgary probably has a few more doubters than they deserve. Winnipeg, we'll have to see. I'm a Regina guy. I find it easy to bang on Winnipeg, but I won't do that here on the internet for you and your friends. So I think Winnipeg is probably going to have to see whether they can get Tim White to be a viable wide receiver 2 in this offense to go along with Ontario. Because if Wilson and White can be a sizable wide receiver 1-2 in this offense like they've had previously with Lawler and Shen and some of the other combinations, and then let Neal and Dembski just kind of work underneath, I think that, they can have a really nice offense this year. They can do enough that they'll be able to get over their 8.5 win total in the books this year in the preseason too. But if White is a little bit old, if Ontario doesn't get the targets that we're expecting, if Dembski gets hurt, it could be pretty quickly back into that 2025 late doldrums where they just struggled to take the top off of defenses and everybody clogged up stuff and Oliveira had to work with 10-man boxes all season.
Speaking of Brady, Tommy Condell is in as the new OC, and there's a lot of intrigue about that, how things will look different. He's a guy that uses a lot of play action. He is a guy that notoriously has a more pass-happy offense. Do you see the distribution of touches from Brady Oliveira maybe skewing more to the pass game than it has in the past? And while we're on the topic, if that is the case, do you like over 27.5 receiving yards in this game tonight?
Yeah, like even just looking at it from last year's perspective, Oliveira was about a 17% target share guy in this offense, which was by far the highest of any running back in the league as it was. He got a lot of those kind of 7-yard dump offs underneath coverage that were Calero's little safety blanket at the end of the game. So, yeah, like if he gets even more touches, we're in a really good situation. As it is, he projects for about 38 receiving yards tonight. So if you're seeing lines that are in that 27.5 kind of range for Oliveira receiving yards tonight on the books, I like the over already. And if he winds up getting even more volume than what he has, that puts him solidly into kind of the wide receiver 3 spot in this offense realistically. And yeah, that's a really great bet on a weekly basis until books smarten up on that one.
I've got a cool bet here. I mean, receiving numbers tonight. Brissett 37.5, Dembski 53.5, Philpott 57.5, Ontario Wilson 55.5, Tim White 54.5, Tevin Jones 43.5. I mean, we're all right in the same zones. Who are you high on? Who are you low on? Is there a number or two there that sort of sticks out at first glance?
You know, as I was looking through those receiving yards numbers, they were all within about 1 or 2 yards of what I have projected in the model this week. There's nothing really that seems that bettable on the yardage props. There's a couple of places there you can find receptions numbers, and CoolBet might even have those up a little bit later. But I've seen Brissett posted at 3.5 receptions, and the under there looks real good. He projects about 2.7 receptions. And then Ontario Wilson has been out there at about 3.5 receptions, and I have him projected more like 4.6. So if you can find those ones posted somewhere, like those are really good numbers that have opportunities. Whereas the yardage, it seems like the books pretty much are on the same page as I am going into tonight.
Love it. Now, for those of us that have been playing lots of DraftKings over the years that are now more into CFL fantasy, we know you are the guru. Tell us a little bit about Onside CFL fantasy and what you're cooking up for people that really want to attack the books and take it to the house.
Yeah, we're trying to cover off all the bases for people's CFL needs this season. So if you're playing season-long fantasy, we have all the information you need weekly with player projections, with waiver wire ads, with injury news, and all those kind of things for you. If you're playing the DraftKings contest, we have the DraftKings projections up there, and they are available through the solver as well if you really want to get deep into making multiple lineups with an optimizer. And for you prop bettors out there, we have full suite of player projections for every player in every game right through the end of Grey Cup to feed all of your needs for getting what you want down on these books each game.
Give him a follow on X, folks. Ben Kramer, it's at Ben Yemen, B-E-N-Y, Amen. You might not like some of the rider takes, but you'll love the fantasy takes throughout it. Hey, on the way out, we had a disaster. We did our draft on Sunday, which was, I mean,
I was in the same spot on Sunday night. We sat there for 2 hours and it never got through the first round.
Yeah, I mean, we won't need to relitigate that. Hopefully we're past it and moving forward, even with the stats last night, whatever.
Yeah.
But I've been waiting to talk to you all week to ask you this question. So part of the chaos of the first round, I was on the clock. I was trying to take Justin Rankin, and it gave me Butler from BC.
Yeah.
And, there was some talk how Jeff Hamilton ended up getting Rankin, and it said, well, hey, if you want, I'll trade you. You can just trade me Butler for Rankin. And I'm like, I figure these guys are going to be pretty close. Maybe I'll just take what has been given to me and hope that it might be in the thing. From your perspective, preseason, fantasy-wise, who are you taking? How close are those guys in your opinion, and who gets the nod between the two?
I had Rankin as my second running back in the season-long projections. Going through preseason, I went through, tried to project out the entire season worth of stats and see where we got to. I think Rankin finished about 30 points ahead of Butler, so you'll get down to kind of 1.5 points a game probably is the difference on Rankin versus Butler. The biggest difference for them is touchdown production, and that's a little volatile, right? Both of them get about 12 or 13% target share. Both of them get about 55, 60% of the rush attempts. It's really going to be a matter of in BC, Butler doesn't get many of those touchdown attempts inside the 10-yard line. Those pretty much all wind up going through Rourke or bringing in a fullback. Whereas in Edmonton, Rankin gets a few more touches inside the 10-yard line and might be able to put up scores a little bit more often. The actual yardage, receptions, carries, it's probably pretty close. So you're kind of skewing one way or another depending on who you think is going to score more touchdowns this year. I know for us, we had 2 people pick Lawler in the first round and 2 people pick Rankin in the second round. So we were sorting through a little bit of that chaos ourselves in our league, but we managed to get it all in about half an hour on Tuesday night when it was running a bit smoother. So hopefully both our luck turns around a little bit.
Ben, here's to a great season, man. Looking forward to chatting with you throughout the year. Thanks for doing this and enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure. Enjoy it, guys.
Good stuff. Benny Amen on X. There's Ben Kramer. All right, Hacksaw is going to join us in just a minute. I do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake, man. We had an unbelievable week last week out on the water at Aikens. If you were thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens is the spot. As incredible as the fishing is, the hospitality might be even better from the Aikens team and the Turan family. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on the upcoming 2026 fishing season and remaining availability for this summer. And you can follow them on all the socials at Aikens Lake. Quick Breezy Bend golf update. And by the way, speaking of Breezy, just before we get to this, big good luck to our buddy Braxton Kuntz of Breezy Bend, now a professional. He is qualified for the final stage of the U.S. Open on Monday. We'll be keeping tabs on Brax in the longest day in golf. 36 holes, playing for a spot in his first major championship. So good luck, Braxton. We'll follow it on Monday. Everyone at Breezy pulling for you. And hey, if you are thinking about a long-term home with a great junior program that's creating some great golfers, check out breezybend.ca or talk to our pal Corey Johnson. Over at the Memorial, JT Poston, the postman, is going off today. He's 7 under for his round, 9 under, 1 better than Ryan Gerard. Sam Burns and Tommy Fleetwood, 4 back at 5 under. And then Wyndham Clark and JJ Spawn at 4. But pretty nice group. Rose and McIlroy, 2 under right now, along with Xander Schauffele and Pat Cantlay. But a bit of a gap after this red-hot round by JT Poston. There's our Breezy Bend golf report. And again, check them out online at breezybend.ca. All right, Hacksaw is ready to go. First up, though, Hacksaw will be the first to tell you it is Beer Friday. Crack a cold one with our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we got CFL kickoff tonight, but we've had some big trades in the National Football League this week. Let's get to the NFL notebook. By the way, keep your eyes. We're going to get to marbles a little quicker than we normally do today, so Remis will open that up right away. Exclamation mark marbles, and we'll have an MVP platter for the winner as well. So big marble race today coming up after a minute. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton joins us now. So first things first, how are you feeling? I know you've been on the DL. We're looking forward to getting you back listed as active, but how's the recovery coming after that wreck?
Well, I had a bad auto accident Easter weekend down here in the States. It's taken me forever. I'm out. I'm covering press conferences. I write on my website every day. I do the podcast Monday and Thursday. So I'm grinding, but I'm playing hurt. But anyhow, tape a Tylenol to it. Let's talk NFL football.
Okay, listen, we were waiting for this A.J. Brown trade, and then all of a sudden that gets almost secondary note because the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, traded earlier this week to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Verse and a package including a first, second, and third pick. What do you make of Cleveland making this trade and the all-in push for the Los Angeles Rams to not fall short this year like they did last year to their division rival Seahawks?
Well, the Rams are a really good organization, and the only words that came to mind the minute this trade leaked out was bold and brilliant, because that's who Les Snead is as general manager in terms of roster construction. Now they paid a significant price for a 31-year-old defensive end. There's no doubt that this guy is a fabulous football player. But at the end of the day, they traded a 1, a 2, a 3, and a really good young inside defensive tackle in Jared Verse to make this transaction go. Now, they had the cap space. They did some creative financing. They gave him a contract extension, which is going to take Myles Garrett out till, I think it's 2030 now. But this guy is state of the art. I mean, 23 quarterback sacks last year, all-time record, 125 in his career, and he's joining 3 other guys on the defensive front who are warriors. This might well be, Hustler, the best defensive line in the National Football League, and it was time for him to leave Cleveland. And he just kind of admitted it at the press conference out here at midweek. He said, hey, I spent 9 years there. We were in the playoffs one time. I did my job. It's just time. Hopefully it's going to work out for Cleveland. And I think the Browns fans are just so enraged at the operation of Jim Haslam and how horrid they are. They still don't have a quarterback. They haven't solved that situation. Now they got a ton of draft picks, Andrew. They got 2 number ones next year, and they have 11 picks in all in what's supposed to be the deepest draft in modern-day NFL history. So maybe they'll turn the corner, but they've done nothing but lose and lose and lose and make weird player personnel decisions. As for the Rams, that general manager is something. You know, he's the one that walked around in the facility with a T-shirt on that said, F them draft picks, when he was trading all of his number ones away so he could load this roster. But if you look at what he's acquired, starting with Matthew Stafford and the mega deal with the Detroit Lions years ago to this transaction to go get Myles Garrett, and then you add in everybody he's drafted, this is a really loaded roster. So you know, the Rams win this. I don't know if the jury is still out on Cleveland's entire mode of operation because they still have not solved the quarterback situation. You know, the other trade, we kept waiting, and we heard all kinds of rumors in the last 2 weeks that other people were in on A.J. Brown. I'm talking about Philadelphia's transaction. I guess the only word I can use to describe that deal is bombastic. Why would you get rid of a 4-time 1,000-yard receiver that makes big plays all the time? The issue is he made big plays, and he was a big problem in that locker room because he was a loose cannon. They got tired of all the stuff in Philadelphia, and that's why Sirianni decided we're cutting a cord. Now, they got a 1 and they got a 5. I don't know that they got fair value for such an explosive player. But I was told the Rams were in on him and backed away because they did not like the medicals because of his knee situations. That's why they went from A.J. Brown, turned around, pulled the trigger on the Myles Garrett trade in Cleveland. So he goes to New England. The Patriots, they need game breakers. It'll be interesting to see if Vrabel can put his thumb on this guy to control him in the locker room and control him when he's away from the facility, because he is awful mouthy and he's got opinions on everything. And he wore out his welcome despite the greatness of the player in Philadelphia. So that's going to be fascinating to see where that story goes.
You know, just back to Cleveland for a minute. I have to admit, I've actually loved their offseason up until this point. And
exactly.
You know, I think they've done a great job. And when you think about this trade and where they are this year, I think they're sort of doing right by the player. But I actually love this deal. I think Jared Verse is going to be a player that, while they won't be Myles Garrett, nobody is going to fit into that defense perfectly and has the projection, still a very young player, you know, a very bright future that could be part of a much better Cleveland team. And you mentioned the quarterback position. Like, listen, they're not getting that done this year. They'll see what happens, whether they go with Watson or Shadur or Dylan Gabriel. The bottom line is that with the draft capital they have next year in a quarterback-heavy draft, they will have plenty of options to trade and get the guy they want. So, I almost feel better about what Cleveland is doing from a managerial and a front office spot. Now, grantedly, the bar is very low, But I think for the first time in a long time, they actually have a plan and are putting it together, not just with this season in mind, but the next 3, 4, 5.
I buy most of what you say. However, there's an asterisk to what you've just said, though, Hustler. They're still on the hook financially for Deshaun Watson. He's going to count $86 million in dead money next year. $86 million, which paralyzes them. The only way they solve that is to give him another extension to stretch out the dollars. But that means he's still there. I don't know whether he can play because his play has degraded so badly because of all the injuries, etc. And you still got the Shadur Sanders situation right there in the wing. So they haven't solved that. And this is a quarterback-driven league. Verse, everything you say about Verse is great. Now he's going to be due a big contract raise too, because his contract year is coming up. So there's going to be a big payday here. But he is much younger, obviously, at age 23 than at 31 going on 32, Myles Garrett. This has the potential to be win-win. It's definitely a win for the Rams right now. We'll just have to withhold judgment to see if it's a win-win down road for the Browns.
Where does the Brown trade leave the Eagles? Because, I mean, they did this after the draft. They are getting the pick. That's not helping them right now. And this is a team that I think still has Super Bowl aspirations. And they've lost their number one passing target.
Well, they've changed everything. This will be a new offense. Nick Sirianni has turned the offense over to longtime NFL assistant Sean Mannion, who's kind of a bright light X's and O's guy. It's Mannion's offensive side of the football. And they're changing everything in the OTAs. And Sirianni has told Jalen Hurts, this is a new offense. You got questions, you go talk to Mannion. And they're changing everything. They're making Hurts play under center. They're going to run the ball. They're going to do play action. They're going to throw off the play action. And you can't do that out of shotgun. And Hurts fought them under prior coordinators, changes in the offense. It's going to be very different. Now, legitimate question about the wide receiver thing with the ejection of AJ. But they do have Devontae Smith. They will have 2 healthy tight ends. They picked up 4 veteran receivers in free agency in the off season. Now, none of them's A.J. Brown, but collectively they're pretty good. And they drafted a speed merchant, Mekhi Lemon from USC, who is unbelievably gifted. I call him a terrorist with speed at wide receiver. So they've got 5 new faces at their OTAs right now, and they really believe that they'll find a complement of guys that are going to be very explosive. And by the way, it's going to be a very different offense. And they're going to throw a lot more to Saquon Barkley out of the backfield under this new playbook that Sean Mannion's bringing in. So it's going to be fascinating to see. But that thing, last year you looked at that roster and you say, how the hell could they not be a Super Bowl team? How the hell could they be 24th in the NFL in offense? Nothing fit in Philadelphia. So it's radically, radically different. Good point, though, you bring up. But that's the deep background of what the Eagles have done.
Tough times in Frisco. They're already dealing with the Seattle Seahawks, a division rival, being the Super Bowl champion. Myles Garrett is now coming to the division, and the Rams are the Super Bowl favorite. And they're dealing with problems of their own making, including their star receiver being more problematic than helping. What do you make of the Niners situation right now?
There's something really wrong with Brandon Ayuk. And I don't know if it's concussion related. I don't know what's happened to him emotionally. He's gone off the curve. He's in a different solar system. I mean, he bailed on them last year. He violated his contract, and he had a catastrophic knee injury 2 years ago. And he's not fully back. And then he stopped coming to rehab, and he stopped doing the things the medical people said he had to do to get back on the field to earn the rest of his contract. And he totally disappeared on Kyle Shanahan. No meetings, no shows at rehab, and all of a sudden, he's off in a different solar system, and they forfeit his contract. They void all the guarantees. So he has no guarantees. Now, there's a bonus payment that's due September 1st this year of $25 million. He is not going to get that contract because of the way he's acted. And now this latest junk, where here I am on video driving over 100 miles an hour, racing around the outside of Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and then he gets himself arrested. And he's not communicating with his agent. There's something not right with him up here. I'd be very concerned. And he just refuses to return phone calls. So, and he can't trade him. Nobody wants him because of the way he's acted. And nobody's going to take him on and give up anything of note because there's a $25 million option that has to be paid, which means then you're stuck with the contract. So we're talking about somebody that's gone off the deep end here. Nobody seems to have a rationale. And why somebody can't get help to him, that's the thing that really blows my mind, because I think there's something really askew with him.
Lee, just before we move off of football, Kyler Murray's in Minnesota now. J.J. McCarthy was supposed to be the next one. It's just sort of come onto my radar this week that Kyler's been saying all the right things. Not so sure that the sophomore, I guess technically third-year player J.J. McCarthy has. And how's KOC, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, handling this quarterback competition, I guess it is, going into the mini camps and training camp?
Well, they told J.J. McCarthy at the exit meetings at the end of last season he had all the injuries and didn't play well in chunks of time. They told him, we're bringing another veteran quarterback in and it will be open competition. You just continue to do your rehab and do all the classroom stuff, and then we'll get to the OTAs. Well, they've gotten to the OTAs and they're both on the field. But J.J. McCarthy made the comment, I sit in the quarterback room on the other side. Well, you can read into that what you want, but what I read into that is he does not have a relationship with Kyler Murray because they're competing for the same job. Well, that Kevin O'Connell put his foot down yesterday, and he was really vocal. Says, you guys don't have to like each other, but you guys are going to work together in this room, and you guys are going to complement and support each other. We're on the practice field. And the only thing I care about is your footwork and your accuracy and your playbook and your line calls. I mean, he really laid the line to the media. He told them what he told these two quarterbacks. So at the end of the day, Murray, based on experience, is obviously got the front runner's job, I think, for the Vikings job. McCarthy's got all this untapped potential, but he's really raw. And there's an intimation from the NFL people I network with that he's not really become a student of the game, which means you live in the facility and you swallow every piece of video you can in terms of prep. And he's been hurt, too, in his defense. So there's a maturity thing here he's got to grow into. But at the end of the day, Murray's not guaranteed the job because Murray was in a bad situation in Arizona and there was too much freelance football. And he needs to play within a system and a structured system that he's going to adhere to and use his God-given automatic talents rather than running around playing freelance football, getting hurt, taking a lot of sacks. So he's got a lot of work on his own game to mold it to what Kevin O'Connell wants. Obviously, McCarthy, he's got a maturity thing here. But boy, KOC, he put his foot down. I was really impressed. I know Kevin O'Connell because he's from out here in San Diego. I mean, he put his foot down about this is what we're going to do, and I'm the head coach, and you're going to answer to me, and let's get to work, gentlemen. So this bears watching.
Yeah, and those guys need to follow what he says, not only because he's the head coach, but the guy's basically a QB whisperer, and if you follow and do what he says, you're more likely than not going to have some success moving forward. Hacksaw, always great having you on the show. Just before we go, we do got to run. I got to ask you what you've thought about the Cup Final so far. 2 unbelievable games to start things off as we now have a best of 5 moving to Vegas.
Tell you what, I said last week, I think when I was with you, these two teams are carbon copies of each other. We're talking about really a lot of depth, guys who can skate, a lot of physicality. The only difference in these two teams, I firmly believe, is I think Carter Hart's a better goaltender at this point than Frederik Andersen. But things change in a game, and once that first goal got in late last night and it became 2-0 to 2-1, the whole rink tilted. And then obviously Carolina stormed from behind. Now they got to go back to Vegas. So it's going to be fascinating to see where this goes. I do think this thing is going best of 7. I sure hope that obviously the defenseman McNabb, who got badly hurt, wound up in the emergency room in the hospital, taking that shot in the mouth. I hope he's going to be able to play. It really looked like a gruesome injury. But these two teams, this is, I guess the correct phraseology, Hustler, war of attrition. That's what I view this 7-game series to be.
Well, and that's what Vegas has done so well. I mean, they, looked like they were really up against it in the first couple games against Utah and Anaheim. And by the end of those series, those 2 challengers didn't have anything left, and we know how quickly they took care of the Avalanche. Going to be a fun next 5 games. We'll see how long it goes, but it's series on after Winnipeg Seth Jarvis got the winner last night. Saw great stuff. What's cooking over at LeeHacksawHamilton.com for people heading into a weekend with the World Cup right around the corner?
Oh my goodness, we got the World Cup and all the controversies surrounding the World Cup. The shocker, Andrew, there is no buzz in this country about the World Cup, only because of all the controversy that swirled with FIFA, ticket prices, Trump, ICE, security. I mean, it's a boondoggle, and I'm hopeful that the events are going to supersede all the garbage that's swirling around the events. But we got, the World Cup. I write a lot of hockey. I talk a lot of hockey for the O Canada Network. Check my podcast. Did a whole breakdown of all the big trade rumors. And we're going to have to carve out one of these Fridays before we get to the draft. We're going to have to carve out a little segment here and talk about the NHL trade rumors, because there is a ton of stuff out there involving your Jets, the Ducks, the Kings, the Maple Leafs, the Rangers. There's a lot of transactions coming leading into the NHL draft. So if you like sports, check my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I write on it every day. That's the new look website. It's very easy to navigate. My one man's opinion column, write a column every day. And then the best 15 minutes of sports, it covers everything. Guarantee you, Hustler, if you read it, you'll be the smartest guy in Winnipeg, aside from the guest who's on your show right now, who wrote all that stuff.
Hey, CBS Sports Network tonight. What would that be? 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock your time. Or maybe, 6 o'clock your time. Bombers, first game of the season. We're all fired up for that, and I know you're down for a little CFL football. Hacksaw, have a great weekend.
Enjoy yourself on Beer Friday. 1919's to you. Talk to you, Huss. Thanks, man.
Good stuff. There is the one and only Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Great stuff from the Saw. And, listen, the NFL never stops. CFL is back, and the Cup Final, great start. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night, and then a couple days off before Game 4 coming up on Tuesday. All right, we're going to get into the marbles right away. Last call, Remo, if you want to wrap that up and get that list ready, let me head over to the Cool Bet lines. And, hey, shout out to everyone that had Montreal last night in the Cool Bet free pick'em contest. Got to get that 5 points for the win. Now, if anyone had that score right, you get some bonus points. We'll be looking forward to that. As far as Cool Bet for the game tonight, we've got the Bombers as 1.5 point road favorites, minus 125 on the money line. Stamps plus 103 at home, and 1.5 point dogs. The total for the game is 48.5. As far as the props go, and we got into this with Ben, I do like the Brady Oliveira receiving number. I wouldn't be surprised if these numbers get higher as we get going in. So Brady over 27.5 yards receiving is a number that I like. And, considering what Ben just said about the projection number that he has for Ontario Wilson catches, let's hope that a couple of those are big ones. I think I'm going to lean over on the Ontario Wilson number, which is 55.5. Now, I just sent a message over to Jake to pop something up in the exclusives for tonight's game. And I think we're going to make it pretty simple this time. We're going to play the Bombers to win, Brady over 27.5 receiving yards, Wilson over 55.5 receiving yards. So, I just sent that in. It probably won't be up for probably 10 or 15 minutes. But if you do want to ride with me, that will most likely be in the exclusives tab. And of course, they've got plenty of stuff coming up for the CFL. And hey, if you jumped on our parlay, we got Montreal last night. So we need Winnipeg and Edmonton on the weekend to cash our first winner of the year in week 1. As far as the NBA Finals, that goes tonight. The Spurs, 6 point favorites. 6.5 point favorites now against the New York Knicks. I do expect the Spurs to win. And if you were with us yesterday when Jake was on, just the very simple Carolina Spurs parlay for plus 134, half of the way there with the win last night. And now we see if the Spurs can get it done this evening. We do have Canada and Ireland playing tonight in the final tune-up before the World Cup next week. This is sort of interesting. The line has really changed quite a bit in this one. Canada was minus 200 earlier this week. When I did the lock shop today, the line went all the way down to minus 139. Canada right now, minus 147. I like a Jonathan David goal tonight. He's at plus 154. And I think I'm going to take Canada to win with a clean sheet. I think we're going to get a little goal prop on, do you like Jonathan David to score? First goal scorer, plus 375. Last goal scorer, plus 375. As well as just to score at any point in the match, plus 154. So we'll have lots of soccer to talk about, the real stuff, but this is the final tune-up game for Canada tonight in Montreal against Ireland. Canada minus 147 to win the game. And just to wrap this up, the Cup Final moves over to Las Vegas. Tomorrow night's game, basically a straight-up pick'em right now between the Hurricanes and the Golden Knights, which is interesting with Vegas coming back. It's minus 108 on each side. The series price, though, after the game last night, has Carolina back as a favorite, despite Vegas having home ice advantage. I don't mind Vegas at plus 110 in this situation that they're in. But it does feel like that was a huge win for Carolina. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one's 2-2 and a best of three coming back the other way. But Carolina minus 133, Vegas plus 110 right now. Check out all the exclusives. Check out the promo tab. And again, Coolbet League. Make sure you go in, get your picks in, and join us weekly for our Pick'em contest for the CFL, where our winner for the season is completely free, but they'll win an all-expenses paid trip to the Grey Cup in Calgary. All right, we have to get to the marble race. And before we do marbles, we have to let the dulcet tones of one Tristan Rivers music fire it up for the people. So Michael Remis, hit the music, as they say. Let's get a little TRM, and then let's finish off the week on WST with the marbles.
It's Friday!
Marbles time. Let's get Michael Remis in here. And Remo, if you want to set her up and let us know where we're going. Today, winner of the marble race will give away our Boston Pizza MVP platter to whoever is first across the line. So what you're going to need to do is, if you win, send us an email to winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com with your information. Still do have a few hoodies, not all sizes, but we'll definitely have that BP MVP platter for whoever wins today. And don't forget tonight, BP Kenniston is the Bomber viewing party. And then next week, get the red on and get out to Boston Pizza's viewing parties at every local BP. Friday, June 12th at 2 p.m. They're going to be giving away Team Canada jerseys, World Cup swag, World Cup balls from Royal Sports. And they got some great promos throughout, including your chance to win a grand prize trip for two to the World Cup final in New York. So World Cup is go time next week, starting on the 11th. Canada first game, 2 p.m. Friday afternoon. Make plans to get off work that afternoon and get to your local Boston Pizza. All right, Reem, what are we cooking today?
Yeah, I went through the marbles. I got a track that I like. I have closed the entry, so anyone I see Rymeo trying to get in there. Sorry, Rymeo, a bit too late, just under the gun. I'll get you in here, Huss. We have 142 entries. Very exciting. And I went through the tracks. I picked one from our guy, Dylan 70.
Yes, Dylan.
I think we've done this one before, but
I wonder if Dylan knows how much we love his tracks and that he has been such an important influencer and contributor to WST over the years.
Yes, I will let Dylan 70 know that if there's a way, but I think they're the best track maker on marbles on Steam, which is the name
He's
of
number
the game.
one. He's number one on the power poll. And by the way, if you just popped in a little late for the marble race, you'll see at the bottom of the chat, there's just a pinned tweet at the bottom. Get your tickets and join us for our Gold Eye patio party. Tuesday, June 30th. Next day is Canada Day. Going to be a super fun day to get the gang together and kick off what for a lot of people will be a 5-day long weekend. WinnipegSportsTalk.com is where you will find the link. Count yourselves in, grab your tickets, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the 30th of June for our next WST event and patio party. And congrats again to our winners, Chelsea, Dallas, and Cowboy, who joined us with their guests for a real fun night at Assiniboia Downs over on Wednesday. All right, Reem, let's get her done and get this weekend going.
Yeah, we're like almost, we're just about half sold of those tickets.
Oh, wow.
So we've sold quite a few. We just sold one. Shout out to Nick, who just bought it. And if you did buy, yes, we'll be set up with a table before for local, with the wristbands there. So you got to meet us before the first pitch, get your wristband, and access to the patio, which is unreal. Has got the bar there, great view out in left field. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. A lot of familiar names buying tickets, but hope to see some new names as well as people, listen. Maybe not everyone's in the YouTube chat or chatting or has been to a previous event, but if you're a podcast listener or anyone, come out and say hi.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bunch of people come up to me at Flatlanders Beer Festival last week and said they're podcast listeners. They said, hey, you should come out and join us for the fish game. So WinnipegSportsTalk.com for those. All right. Bomber game tonight. Let's start off. Let's start this off with a great marble race and then hopefully a great football game tonight.
Let me just make sure I got the right number of marbles in here. It may not have been. I can't read, actually. Is that a 4? What is that? Let me try this one more time. I don't think I loaded the correct one in. What's the date today? Marbles June 5. I loaded last week, so we don't want to do that.
June 5, yeah.
Can you believe that it's June 5, Huss? What great weather it is out there, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay today, but it looks like the weekend's going to be pretty good. See here. 31 and sunny tomorrow, 32 and mix of sun and cloud on Sunday. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Looks like we're going to have some rain next week. Tuesday's looking nice. But make the most of it. 30 and sunny on the weekend. Count me in for that. All right, let's do this.
I got this track open, and someone's asking for predictions. I said a person from Edmonton won't win. We've never had an Edmonton Sports Talk listener with the win.
Yeah, if there's an EST winner, we'll have to call the BPs in Edmonton and get you hooked up. We probably might be able to make that happen. But anyways, so yes, we've got the BP MVP platter. If you win, you need to just send your information to us at winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. All right, here we are. The World Chasing Beauty, Dylan 70, another classic track. It's marbles time on WST. Let's drop them. The old Plinko start. Gotta love this one. Oh, wow, this is a wild one. A lot of deep purple in the mix and these weird, like, Meccano wheels.
Yes.
That make it happen. No Frills Demo, is he in? No Frills is out. Spency 5 Sensi had a nice start. And now we got a whole crew of people in this orb. Question is, who's going to get out first? All right. got some people dropping in. We got Manny Tran, 8 Stickman, Winnipeg Puck.
Oh, Snuka.
Yeah, Snuka. That was smooth. Snuka just sort of was able to jump ahead and get a little bit of a head start, but it's still very, very tight. And, Remis might have done the ultimate reverse jinx.
I may have.
Sensi 5 Sensi of the Nasties. The EST is right there with Snuka. Darth Skater in the back. I see Donnie Boy in the mix as well. But it's Snuka and Darth Skater right now, 1-2. As we get down some corkscrews. And then we're going to be going into a big funnel, which then drops down into another spinning orb. Let's see. We got Bravo Bry in the mix. There's a Sports Enigma 74. Bye-bye. Winnipeg Puck. Bye-bye. TH Power is out. And Snuka and Darth Skater are the first ones in, but it looks like they've got some company. There's Rob Pepper. Who else is in the mix here? Well, we've got somebody coming down. Okay, Rob Pepper has caught Darth Skater. There's Snuka. And Darth Skater is now in first place with Rob Pepper and Snuka right there. This is very, very tight. They've slowed down a little bit on this one obstacle run with the pegs that jump up. Darth is just ahead of about 20 marbles right now. Rob Pepper's actually in first. Did Wayne Gretzky get saved? No, Gretzky is out. Top roped. You're going to hit the Transcona tailgate tonight, Gretzky and Tyson? We do need a report from that. All right, Lulu. Lulu's in first right now, and Yakman. Lulu going first. Will Lulu get the win? Yes. Lulu. All right, Lulu, good stuff. Send us an email. Winnipeg Sports Talk at gmail.com with your number and your email. And our friends at BP will hit you up and let you know. I'll just send you can let them know which BP you would like to pick up your MVP platter as well. Rest of the top 10 was Lulu, then Yakman, then S1 McCall, Velveeta in fourth, Schmeck's Time 5, Darth Skater was there the whole race, finished 6th, 22 Canuck, Matthew Hyman, Mrs. J. Jones. Wonder if that was the Jennifer Jones. And Rob Pepper. There is our top 10. All right, Reem, if you want to just go to the results, let's do a quick rundown outside of the top 10 so everyone knows where they were today. There's our guy, the Schickster, in 12th. Nicely done. Casino Dealer J, Dan Jetsman, Duck Dad. Shout out to the Lock Shoppers in the EST. Father Mallard himself. There's Blackie O, Mary Jane, Mark Amp, Cruiser. Well, Snuka ended up being 28th after being right there. Ray OG, son of Jerk. Hustler, all right, 42nd. I'll take that. There's Tyson D, Arlone. Schnitzy is right around 60. Also, we got EMP. Big Maple Bets. What's up, Big Maple? Ryan Kivens and Amanda S420. Well, you did make it. And then a lot of casualties. Man, great stuff. Fun week today. Man, we had a great time on Wednesday being out at Elm Creek. And on Thursday, we are going to be out at the Visitor Information Center in Travel, Manitoba. Can't wait for that. And of course, Thursday is also the home opener for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We'll have much more on that. But Monday, we'll wrap the latest in the Stanley Cup Final and the hockey news. And, of course, the entire Week 1 story in the Canadian Football League before Week 2 edition of CFL 110 coming up on Tuesday. Big thanks to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. I do want to say, Remo, we got something from Big Maple. This is the best. And Big Maple is the best when it comes to picks. Thank you for the super chat. What do we got here from UFC? UFC this weekend. Iwo Baranowski by sub is a hot prop to watch. 3-1. We got a parlay of Souza and Iwo, and Iwo Tafa under 1.5 rounds. Alan Shabazin does not go the distance, plus 151. And Marcus McGee by sub is also super live. I will be going straight to Coolbet and playing a couple of those, Maple. You've been very, very good to us and to me over the years. So if you are looking for a UFC lean, check out the super chat from Big Maple. And thanks again to the big guy for his support. Thanks to Hacksaw. Thanks to Benny and Ben for joining us to talk a little fantasy. Brandon Rewucki and, of course, Ed Tait from BlueBombers.com out in Calgary before tonight's 8 o'clock kickoff. That is going to do it for us. I hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the football game tonight. Don't forget WST Sunday Live with Connor and Liz Sunday morning at 9. And we'll be back 1 p.m. on Monday to kick off another week and get ready for the Blue Bomber home opener here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to all of our sponsors and all of you for being a part of the show today. Have a great one. We'll see you Monday on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.